Joining me now from Washington, D.C., representing Florida's 1st Congressional District and author of the new book, Firebrand, Dispatches from the Front Lines of the MAGA Revolution, Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Steph.
And congratulations on your new book. I can't wait to read it.
I appreciate it. The chapter I think you'll like the most is Big Tech Hates America, and we saw on full display the America Last policies of companies like Google and Amazon and Facebook before the Judiciary Committee, and I'm deeply troubled about the censorship of speech, about the negative treatment of conservative websites on platforms like Google, and their desire to control what we see and what we think so they can control how we act.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I did watch the whole hearing here, the virtual antitrust hearings, of course. Now, how crucial do you think it is for big tech companies to be reined in? Because a lot of Americans probably don't realize how much power and influence Google and Facebook and Twitter have on our lives.
Big tech has the ability to move millions of votes because they can heighten information that is critical of the people they don't like, and they also can suppress the truth, which is what oftentimes we've seen on some of these platforms. I'm hopeful that the Department of Justice will take the information that we got yesterday and aggressively pursue antitrust litigation against companies like Google so that we can get some transparency into the processes that have been so unfair to conservatives and even to sites like the Daily Caller that get a lot of important information out.
Yeah, it's interesting because you'll hear a lot of people say that conservative censorship is some sort of myth, it's not really happening, but then you see all these examples of it actually happening, and then Google or Facebook or Twitter's response is, oh, it was some sort of glitch, it was the algorithm, oh, I don't know why it happened, but yet it still seems to target conservatives more than anyone else. And speaking of that, I mean, you were targeted not too long ago. You and was it 3 other members of Congress that happened to be kind of pro-Trump members of Congress were targeted during a very important time? On Twitter, you were shadow banned.
That's right. That's right. During the Russia hoax, 4 members of Congress were shadow banned: Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Devin Nunes, and Mark Meadows. I don't think that was a glitch. I also don't think it's a glitch when you see Google give negative treatment to sites like Breitbart and the Daily Caller and the Gateway Pundit, the Western Journal, and so many others that reflect a conservative viewpoint. Here's what we learned yesterday. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, was literally in a meeting where his top executives were talking about the need to make Trump's 2016 win just a blip in history. And then we see that negative treatment of conservative websites. So I don't think you have to be Sherlock Holmes to connect the dots and see that there are people in Silicon Valley trying to alter this election, and I fear that Google may be the most dangerous election interference organization in the world.
Yeah, well, who do you think is a bigger threat, Russia or Google, to our elections?
Google, unquestionably. I mean, Google not only is pulling out of deals with the U.S. military, they're then engaging in projects with AI and other science to make Chinese fighter planes more effective in their targeting. That's not America first. And then they're trying to make our country look more like China with the censorship that they have imposed on their users.
Well, and you talked about the blip in the election. If you think about what happened in 2016, President Trump, or Trump at the time as a candidate, didn't really have a fair shot with the media. They had to filter and censor everything he was saying, his speeches, and we had to listen to it from a third party, if you will. Now, they realized that with social media, Twitter, Facebook, President Trump, Donald Trump at the time, could take his message straight and directly to the people without having some CNN host try to interpret and think what he was saying. So, yeah, I think that right before the election, it's so important that we look at this. What exactly are Republicans going to do about it? So we see Republicans talking about it. Not everyone's in favor of going after big tech, if you will. They say, oh, well, the free markets can take care of it. I totally disagree with that. I don't think the free market can take on a behemoth like Google and Facebook.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.